In this tip, we'll take a look at some keyboard shortcuts for moving around in your spreadsheet and for highlighting or selecting values. We'll take a look at how to name a range and how to use it and the advantages or benefits you get from doing so. And finally, using a named range with the large function to find the sum of the top 3 values, the top 5 values. So, the shortcut keys. If I'm in cell A1, if I do Control and an arrow down, I get to the bottom of the column. The Control and arrow keys will get you to the beginning or end of any particular column or row. If I do a Control arrow up, I'm back where I happen to be. If I do a Control arrow right, it gets me to the cell C1. It did not go over to E1 because anytime you use the Control and arrow key combinations, it stops at the first blank cell it comes to. So if I wanted to highlight if I want it to get to the bottom here, if I do a Control arrow down, it will stop at the first blank it comes to. So if you had a blank cell in that column of numbers, it would stop there. Highlighting. If I wanted to highlight the numbers in this column A, you add the Shift key, Control Shift arrow down. I have now highlighted that group. I can then copy it, paste it, do something like that. Control arrow up. If I wanted to highlight this entire range of values, I would do a Control Shift arrow to the right and a Control Shift arrow down. I've now highlighted the entire range or table of cells that contain values. You could, of course, click and drag and highlight. That works just as well, but the Control key combinations with the Shift key to highlight, if you have thousands of rows, you might find that a little quicker. So again, Control Shift arrow to the right, Control Shift arrow down. I now have the entire table or range of values. I want to name this range. I want to give this group, this table, a name so that I can use the name of that table in any function, sum, if, count, etc. A VLOOKUP perhaps that takes a table or array of values. To name any particular range, you highlight the range as we've just done. Click into the name box and name the range. A range name cannot start with a number, it must start with a letter, and it cannot contain a blank. So I'm just going to call this data table, no blank, just data table, and press my enter key. Now it knows that this range of cells is the data table. One of the perhaps advantages, so for example, if I was on a different sheet, I could do equal sum and then parenthesis and start typing data table. It will find, it knows I have a named range. I can double click it, close my parenthesis, and now I can sum up all of the values in that range on a different sheet rather quickly. Again, the advantage for a VLOOKUP or any of those types of functions that take a table or an array, such as the LargeFunction. The LargeFunction. It returns the largest value, equal large. It needs an array or a table. I can then begin to type data table and then what highest or what number. Do I want the top value? That's 1. If I want the second highest value, that's 2. Third highest is 3, etc. So comma and then a 1, and then I close my parenthesis. The largest value here is that number. I'll just format that for column. And that's my largest value. That will also, you could use that for max, the max function, maximum function. But the advantage here for the large is that you can add up, you can sum the top 3 values, the top 5 values, etc. or you could find the second highest number, the third highest, simply by changing the number 1 here to the ranking of the value that you want. How to sum up the 3, 4, 5, 6 largest values. You basically embed a function within a function. Equals sum, parenthesis, large, and then my parenthesis. It needs the array data table, which is a little faster and quicker than highlighting this value table. Then K. I want to take the top 3 values. You want to type in 1, 2, and 3. This is basically an array. So instead of encasing this in parentheses, you must use curly braces. Okay, the curly brace. Then the range. You want the first, the highest value, the top value, the second highest value, and the third highest value. You close that with the curly brace. If you wanted the 5 highest, you would do another comma, 4, 5, etc. Close the curly brace. You would then, of course, have to close your parentheses. The first parenthesis closes the large for the large function, and another parenthesis for the sum, and then I enter. And here I have just added up the top 3, the highest 3 values in this particular data range. Again, if you wanted to do 5, you would simply add the 4, 5, etc., and you can add them up that way. There's also the small, okay, rather than large, there's also small. You can do the reverse, but again, the largest value. So, highlighting cells, control arrow gets you movement, control shift arrow gets you highlighting. Naming a range, highlight the range, name it by clicking into the name box. Please, when you have named the range, you must remember to push your enter key. That will name the range officially. And then finally, you can use the large function within the sum function to add up the highest values, the values that you want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Finally, if you wanted to get rid of your named range, you would go to Formulas, the Name Manager, and here you will find all of the named ranges within a particular Excel file, a workbook. You can simply click on it and you can delete it, you can edit it, or you can create a new one here if you want. I hope you found this useful and beneficial, and thank you for watching.